Hello everyone. So in this section, I am going to explain how to implement or how to apply outlier transformation in Domo. Okay. So let's understand the definition of outlier. Outlier is a data point that is significantly different from rest of the data set. Okay. Let me explain with example. See, this is my data set. Assume this is my sales data set, and 1, 2, 3 up to 8 is my transaction ID, and this next column is my sales value. Okay, let me mention ID and sales value. Okay, so if we observe this data set, we can see this fifth transaction has a 5,000 value. Okay, that is different from all other value. Okay, based on the definition, outlier is a data point that is significantly different from the rest of the data set. So we can say this 5,000 is significantly different from all other value. Okay, so this is outlier. Okay, now in our Domo, how can we find outlier? Okay, to find a outlier, we have a magic ETL transformation. Okay, so when I click on magic ETL transformation, we have a one section called data science. Okay, so in the data science section, we have a transformation called outlier detection. Okay, let's take a input data set and choose a data set. Okay, let's make a connection between these two. Okay, now when I click on outlier, it is asking select the column within which you want to detect outlier. On which column we want to detect outlier. Okay, so let's select the column. I want to detect outlier on sales amount. Okay, now choose the algorithm that work best for your data. So for to calculate or to find a outlier on data set, Domo is providing two algorithms. One is standard deviation, another is mean absolute deviation. Okay, so we can choose any of these. Now what is standard deviation and what is mean absolute deviation? So these two are part of statistics. Okay, uh, if I create other section for data science algorithm, in that section I will explain. I'm not sure I will create or not, because this data science algorithm is not part of BI. Okay, this is part of data science, so we can choose anything. Okay, now specify the deviation cutoff above which a value is considered an outlier. So to calculate a outlier, we also need to define deviation cutoff. Okay, now what is deviation cutoff? Okay, we have like generally in statistics, we choose three deviation cutoff. One is 2, 2.5 and 3. Okay, now which one we have to choose? So when we have to find extreme exception, okay, in that case we can choose 3. When we have to find moderate exception, then we can choose 2.5, like that. Okay, so assume we have this data set. Okay, now we have a 9 and the value is 1000, sorry, 10,000. Okay, we have a one more 10 and assume the value is 3000. Okay, and we can see this 5,000 is also significantly different, 10,000 is also significantly different, and this 3,000 is also significantly different. Okay, so if we have to found a moderate exception, then we can choose 2.5. Okay, in this case we should get this value as an exception, as an outlier. If anything greater than 5,000 or 5,000, that will be exception or outlier. Okay, if we have to see extreme exception and we chosen a deviation cut of 3, then in that case we might get like if anything greater than 10,000 or 10,000, that is outlier. This 5,000 and 10,000, 3,000 won't consider under outlier. If we have to find outlier, I mean normal outlier, like assume if anything is greater than 3,000 and we want to consider as outlier, in that case we can choose two value. Okay, so based on what kind of based on how extreme we want to find outlier, based on how extreme exception we have to found, based on how, sorry, so which value we have to choose, 2, 2.5 or 3, it depends upon how strict we want to be. Okay, and this is just a definition sorry. Now the next thing is specify the deviation cutoff above which a value is considered an outlier. Okay, so here we need to specify some value. So in generally in statistics we choose 2, 2.5 or 3. Okay, now let's understand here what is deviation cutoff. The deviation cutoff for outlier detection is typically set to 2.5 or 3. Okay, which value we have to choose, it depends upon how strict we want to be. Okay, if we choose a 3 value, in that case we will find extreme anomalies or extreme exception. Okay, assume I have this data set. Okay, in this data set our normal transaction values are 300, 400, 150, 800. Okay, 1200, 50, like that. Okay, assume these are our normal transaction value. This is my only example. Okay, assume in my shop or in my retail shop we have a average kind of transaction value under 1000. Okay, but we have some exception transaction like 5,000, 10,000, 3,000. Okay, now I want to catch extreme anomalies. Okay, in that case we will choose 3 deviation cutoff. So if I choose a 3 deviation cutoff, in this case I should get this value as a outlier, this 10,000. Okay, but assume I am choosing 2.5. In this case we will get moderate anomalies or moderate exceptions. So if anything that is greater than 5,000 or 5,000, that will consider as an outlier if I choose 2.5. Okay, if I choose 2, that using this 2 we are just trying to get normal anomalies. Okay, normal anomalies or normal exception means like if anything just little bit higher than our normal range value, that will be considered as an outlier. So if we have to consider this case, then we can choose this 2 deviation cutoff. Okay, so if we choose deviation cutoff, then in my example what will happen, anything that has value 3,000 and greater than 3,000, that will be considered as an outlier. Okay, now let's come here. Now I prepared outlier detection transformation. So let's drag a output and let's give some good name, outlier detect. Okay, now let's save this and run. So let's wait for a few seconds, it will be completed and then we'll see the output of this outlier detect ETL transformation. Okay, click on output Now click on data and then we'll look for the outlier column, that is sales outlier. Okay, at the end we can see we have a column called sales outlier. Okay, so let the values load, then we'll compare whether it detected outlier or not. Okay, okay, so the values we can see now, and let's see the outlier now. Sales. Okay, here we can see we have 1 0. Wherever is 0, we can consider that value is the outlier. Okay, so we calculated outlier based on this sales amount column. So we can see for the sales amount column we have a normal range value like 3374, 3399, 3578. Okay, but we can see we have one small value called 699. So here in the sales outlier column we can see value 0 means it detected outlier and we can consider this value is outlier. So in this case what business can do, they have to verify whether this value is correct or not, or it's an exceptional value, like that. Okay, so this is all about how to calculate outlier in Domo. Thank you.